Hello, everyone, and welcome to this feedback video. This is where I provide the answers to the challenge from last week about example sentences. So the question we were looking at was that many people feel that media coverage is becoming increasingly biased today. We're looking at the very first body paragraph, and we said one of the reasons why a lot of individuals think that media coverage is becoming more biased nowadays is it is controlled by powerful people. So we're going to try and give a specific example to show that media coverage is controlled by powerful people. So lots of examples to have a look through. So thank you very much for everyone who sent in their work. And let's have a look what we've got here. So first one. For example, so we always want to be starting off examples and signposting. This is really good. The very example, and remember we always have a comma after our for example. In India, good. Many people believe that the majority of politicians influence the political content coming out on the media in order to get more people to like them and vote for them to win the election. So we don't know which election we're talking about here, so we can't actually use the elections. If you're talking about elections in general, we use the plural noun. Despite would be non-essential information, so we always have a comma in front. Despite many journalists' disapproval for the content. Okay, so let me read this one more time. Many people believe the majority of politicians influence out the media. Okay, in order to get more people to like them and vote for them to win elections, despite many journalists' disapproval for the content. Okay, so it's specific. We're talking about in India. We're talking about who these powerful people are, because it's politicians. What exactly they're influencing. They're trying to win elections. We're also showing that many journalists don't like this. So I think this is a really good example. It was just one issue I think we had with articles. So looking at our next example. So for example, Times Limited Network. So network is a thing, it's countable. So we'd have the Times Limited Network, a news agency in Nigeria, supervised by a well-known politician, John Smith, telecasts his political party's best work only. So the only here doesn't come here. We say we put the only in front of the telecast. So if we're using only to refer to our main verb, you put it before. So only telecasts political party's best work and not its failures. Okay, so are we talking about politician, powerful person? So we've got a well-known politician, John Smith. Are we showing that it's influencing media coverage? So we're only telecasting the best work and we're ignoring this. So again, this is a specific example and it works really well, so well done. Here, make sure we've got a space between the for and the example. Super wealthy John Henry purchased. So it's a bit awkward going super wealthy John Henry. Maybe we could say a super wealthy is really informal. So I think a wealthy businessman. Then we're going to give his name, so we'll put it in commas. A wealthy businessman, John Henry, purchased the Boston Globe to help him push his agenda and get the support he needed politically. For example, wealthy. Okay. So again, we've got a specific person. We're showing that he wants political support. He's powerful, so it's specific. It's supporting our main idea. Good example. Next one. For instance, an actor from Bollywood industry. So here, the common expression would just say a Bollywood actor. So a Bollywood actor was killed by his co-star a year ago. And this news was reported by most of the media in India. No need for these comments. And this news was reported by most of the media in India as a suicide. So suicides are countable. instead of a homicide. Again, homicides are countable because the journalists and editors were pressurized by powerful individuals. So again, we've got powerful individuals pressurizing journalists and editors to report biased news. So, yep, this works. To illustrate this, 2M, a Moroccan TV channel, is owned by rich people who influence the public to achieve their desired outcomes. So here, I would say this is a little vague. So we have got the specific of what we're talking about. So we've got this, the name of the TV channel, where it is. It's owned by rich people, okay, who influence the public to achieve their desired outcomes. So what kind of desired outcomes are we talking about? So earlier we were talking about political, we were talking about, okay, we're reporting about political stories that they want to influence. Simply their desired outcomes, this is a little bit vague. So it's not a terrible example. It definitely supports our main idea, but I would like to be a little bit more specific when it's just talking about these outcomes. So what are these outcomes? Let's be as specific as possible. Moving on to our next one, for example, the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, spelling mistake, who is the richest man in the world. So this is non-essential information. So this is a non-defining relative clause. We need commas. So the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, who is the richest man in the world. And then we've got something completely different. So this is really an issue with sentence structure. So we look at this. So Washington Post, so this is our subject, is owned by the verb, and then our object is Jeff Bezos. So we have an independent clause here. This relative clause just adds information to this. So we've got an independent clause and then the verb. So we haven't got a connection here. So this second clause needs a subject, and we need a way to connect it to the first clause. So if we're adding information, we can just use and we need the subject. So he uses this newspaper for his own benefits. Okay. So again, we're supporting, we've definitely got a specific person. We realize we've got the Washington Post, but what are these benefits? So again, this is just a bit too vague. It's like here, desired outcomes, his own benefits. So we want to be kind of showing what these benefits are. How is he benefiting from using this newspaper? Just saying his own benefits is a little bit vague. It's not terrible. It's an appropriate example, but if we're trying to get up to like band 8s, then we want to be a bit more specific. So our next one. So for instance, in India, some politicians, spelling mistake, own TV channels, and they use these channels to portray, again, spelling mistake, a good image. So a little bit awkward here. They use these channels to portray. They portray themselves good light by telecasting only the positives of them. So again, the positives of them is this collocation doesn't really work. So portray themselves in good light by telecasting only party. They and their political party take part in. Yes, so some politicians own TV channels and use these channels to portray themselves in a good light with telecasting only the positive activities that they and their political party. We're talking about parties in general, because they've got more than one politician, so it's likely to be more than one party that their political parties take part in. And again, this could be a little bit more specific. What are these activities? So yes, it is supporting our idea, but if we want to get up to band 8, we're going to have to be a lot more specific about this. In Egypt, for instance, the Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party has both legitimate and execution authorities. So here, I'm not sure what we're talking about. So this student's taking too many risks for vocabulary. So execution authorities. So I'm not sure what these execution authorities are. Do you mean the authority to execute people? But if that's the case, then that's not dealing with media coverage. So execution authorities not only violate human rights, but to influence the media outlets. So maybe this has the ability to influence media outlets in order to keep their president in power. Yeah, we will say power, not rule. I'm guessing this was a question. Egypt, for instance, has the ability to influence media outlets in order to keep the president in power. Okay, so this would be very specific. We're talking about what their specific, or who the specific party is, exactly what they're doing. They're keeping the president in power by manipulating the media. So, yeah, this works as a specific example, but just be very careful with your vocabulary. Don't take too many risks. So a lot of good examples here. Most of them are supporting the main idea. So that's really good to see. We could be just at times, I think, a little bit more specific in our examples. So, when we've got these examples, we're just talking about outcomes or benefits. These are quite vague terms. But remember, try and be as specific as possible when you are giving these examples. So those are all the questions that we had this week. Thank you very much for everyone who participated in the channel. Please remember to like the video if you've had your work corrected. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed so you don't miss any future content, and share this with anyone that you think might like it and it could help their studies. Thank you so much to everyone who participates. Good luck in your studies. Have a great week, and I'll see you all soon.